Let's learn something really quick.
If you got the time, absolutely. And you got the discipline, there's no question about it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great practice to put into your everyday life, you guys.
You generally regret the things you don't do, not the things you did do. Let me say it that way.
Mic drop. This was just awesome. I love meeting my guests in person, and it's a whole nother animal, and the energy is just electric. You guys, this is your host, Deanna and with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring incredible guests from all around the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. On this week's episode, we've got our resident relationship wizard coming back with us. His name is Fred Talisman, and he is a licensed marriage family counselor, relationship life coach, and private practice for over 25 years. Has a whole lot of awesomeness behind him. So, Fred, welcome back. Thank you for coming back and being our resident relationship wizard.
Deanna, thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you.
So, last time you were on, we kind of gave the big intro of who you are, your background, and things that you've experienced, and your reason why that you're a man on a mission. So, let's kind of like highlight that really quick. You had an experience yourself that kind of drove you to want to really invest in helping people save their marriages and their relationships.
Yes. I mean, my turning point as a marriage counselor is when my first wife left me and with her note. And I went from feeling ashamed and humiliated that I, as a marriage counselor, couldn't save my own marriage.
Yeah.
Really realizing that we marriage counselors aren't really trained to do that.
Yeah. That's something. And that has to be pretty profound for you to admit something like that, right?
Yes,
for sure.
So I went on a giant search to find out what actually works to make a marriage or any relationship work.
Yeah.
And I've taken that and applied it to my own marriage with my forever wife of 28 years.
I love that.
So I'm a big believer in practicing what I teach.
Sure. And as you should, because that shows that you have credibility. And I think that you're right. There are good therapists and there are bad therapists. You know, I've had my fair share of therapy over the years, and not everyone has been the best. You know, you kind of have to interview them to make sure that they are going to be a good fit for you and they're going to actually help you heal and get better and just kind of get you down the right path. There's a question that I want to kick this show off with today. In your experience and all of your incredible years of wisdom, what is a common denominator amongst relationships where the breakdown starts to happen?
So most people, almost from the beginning of a relationship, once the newness wears off, they begin to create in their mind a generalized negative case against the other person. They keep looking for evidence to reinforce that case. Yeah, and the bigger negative case a person builds in their mind against the other person, the more unhappy they feel, the more disconnected they feel, the more out of love they feel, and the more they use that case to justify to themselves bad communication and bad behavior.
Yeah. And I can actually see that. Like, I mean, relationships are hard, right? And it really takes effort to make sure that you have a healthy relationship, and you have to acknowledge things that you do wrong and try not to put the blame on someone else.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big issue in a lot of relationships, because people want to blame each other.
Yes, and the negative labeling starts inside. Part of that negative case is all the negative labeling they're creating in their mind against their partner.
Negative labeling. Okay, I get it. So like I would negatively, let's just say, for instance, I would be negatively labeling my husband, right? And internalizing those ideas and those thoughts in my head.
Yes.
When it's not actually true.
Right. And then if people break the golden rule, Fred's golden rule in a relationship, never, ever, ever communicate when you're in negative emotion, that's when that negative labeling comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, where you get the fighting and the screaming, the name calling and all of that. How do you consciously, and I think we touched on this a little bit on the first episode, how do you help someone train themselves to not react? Because that's really where the problem is that like we are so quick to react on something when we're upset.
So there's a difference between having a reaction, which we're all going to have about certain things, can't
Yeah.
prevent that, versus communicating when you're in a reactive place.
Yeah. Okay.
So for everybody on the planet, and all of you that are hearing this and watching this, can tune in for yourself, check in with yourself. If everybody on the planet, the first conscious awareness that we're beginning, keywords beginning, to go into negative emotion, either be a sensation in a specific part of your body and or a change in body temperature.
Yeah.
At that earliest warning sign, the beginning to get that sensation, you want to do what's called a pattern interruption.
Okay.
In other words, give a believable reason why I have to immediately break contact. The one that works in all contexts, including with family and in business,
Yeah.
I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay.
We can tell you don't have to go.
Yeah.
So that gives you a chance when you're not in that person's presence to let go of that reactive negative emotion.
Sure. Sure. And when that person comes back, if they are listening to what Fred says, our relationship wizard here is going to help fix all of your relationships and then some. How long does it take to actually implement that? If they have been working with you, or if they're listening to this right now and they're like, okay, that sounds great. Maybe they get into a fight with their partner and they forget to do that. And so then they're going to come back. They're going to watch another episode with Fred and me, and they're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to try this again. And so they actually do that and they break that negative communication. Then what do they do upon their return from the bathroom?
So a really good communication skill is positive alternative communication.
Positive alternative. Okay.
And what that means is, rather than telling the person what they're doing wrong,
Right.
or what's wrong with them, you skip that part and you ask for, in positive language, in positive emotion, what you want instead.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please do.
So let's say that you feel that whenever you're with your partner, that they're always on their phone, they're always on social media, they're not listening to you, not looking at you when you talk to them. Then direct, honest communication about that would be, it's really frustrating talking to you because you're always distracted when I talk to you. You don't look at me when I talk to you. You keep asking the same questions over and over again that I've already answered because you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
That would be accurate.
Okay.
Human nature is, when you tell a person what they're doing wrong, you're likely to get one of three reactions. They're either going to withdraw
Okay.
because they feel attacked. They're going to attack you because they feel attacked.
Yeah.
They're going to defend their position because they feel attacked. None of which will get you what you want.
Right. Right.
So with this skill, only when you're both in positive emotion, you say, it's really important to me that whenever we're together, we put down whatever we're doing, give each other full eye contact and our full presence.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that with you. Would you be willing to do that with me?
Yeah.
You always offer it as a reciprocal request.
Sure. Sure. I like that. What's the usual, in your experience with all of your, I mean, I have no idea, hundreds, thousands of people you've worked with. In your experience, what is usually the response from the partner so the person's asking the question, what's the response from their partner?
Well, they're more cooperative because they don't feel attacked.
Right.
They don't feel being put down. They're not being negatively labeled.
Yeah, for sure.
So it tends to get a more cooperative response.
Yeah, and I think that sets the tone of a more healthy dialogue too, right?
Sure.
Obviously, I mean, I've had my fair share. So I was with my late husband for 17 years. We went to therapy because we just were not getting along at all. And it was a lot of blame, and we would never get to a place where we would have a healthy conversation. But now in my current marriage, I tried to diffuse it when it starts getting heated and just let's really just talk about this. And I think that when you ask somebody for something, instead of kind of trying to force it on them, they're more willing to come to the table in a peaceful way.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also, you're a rare person. Most people can't do that.
I'm not saying I'm perfect. I don't do it all the time because I got a temper. Let me tell you, you push my buttons. I got a temper. Like I will not take no shit.
Well, me too.
Okay, so usually that kind of like takes their guard down, right? Then what? After that, like what's
Well, it only takes their guard down if you're in positive emotion when you're saying it.
right?
In
Okay,
other words, our partners know us. They know our signals. They know if we're in negative emotion.
sure,
They're going to react to the emotion. When people, are in negative emotion, their rational thinking is switched off.
right, yeah,
When their partner sees they're in negative emotion, they assume they're the target and they're already in a defensive position
yeah,
and their listening switched off.
yeah. I would agree to that. And so, okay, common denominator across most relationships where the breakdown usually happens is the communication. People are coming at each other from a negative emotional space. So now, how long does it typically take people to kind of like really start making these type of decisions in their relationship? How long does it take them to kind of get that to where it becomes a habit?
So great question.
Yeah.
So the key answer is integration instead of practice.
Integration instead of practice. Okay.
So what that means is I'm recommending as you're watching or listening to these episodes that you start making notes and that you have a note on your phone of what you're learning from me in these episodes.
Yeah.
Right before you have contact with anybody, adult, child, or animal, you review those skills and those concepts, commit yourself to do them with that individual.
Mm.
If you're doing them all the time with everybody, and you need it with your partner, they'll be available.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
saving it for when you think you need it, you're guaranteed to go back to your old habitual way of communicating.
So I'm sure not not every relationship that tries. So someone's listening to this, or you've worked with them, and they are trying to implement these things in their relationship. Like, what's the percentage typically of the partner responding or coming around?
I think it's really high.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, I only teach people things that I know works, so it took me a long time to figure out what worked. So
Yeah.
these skills work when you do them, and they don't when you don't.
Right. Right. I can't imagine though. It's like an immediate turnaround though, because people are stuck in their ways. And
Great question. Yes, because people like are on the defensive.
yeah.
They're waiting. Well, what's this about? This is different. What's coming next?
Right. Right. To defend their position.
Right, because they're stuck. They've been doing an adversarial relationship for some time. They've been acting like enemies.
Yeah. And where does that learned behavior come from? Because we're not born like that.
It comes from our upbringing. It comes from our experiences in school.
Yeah.
It comes from what's modeled in the media that we watch.
Yeah.
It comes from lots of places. And
We're kind of screwed. I'm just kidding.
No, we're not.
I'm just kidding. So that's why people need you. They need the things that you're teaching to help them unlearn this bad behavior.
Sure, and what to do instead.
I think we have to come up with some kind of exercise for people that are watching or listening, and let us know how it goes. Like,
Please do.
how many times? So if you are using negative emotion to communicate in your relationship, and what we're presenting to you is a way to kind of turn that around and really implement some healthy tools to have a better communication, I would love to know. And so guys, please email us, reach out to us. I would like to know how long it took you, number one, to implement this kind of new practice in your communication with your partner. And number two, what the response was when you finally made that change with your partner. I would love to know.
We want to hear your successes, and we want to hear where you're getting stuck.
Well, okay, here, let's talk about that. People do get stuck, right? We get stuck all the time. So when you are working with your previous clients and you're having them implement this, where do they get stuck in this process?
They get stuck because they buy into the myths that we've been raised with. For example, I was raised with a myth when you're upset with your partner, you talk things out.
Why is that a myth?
Well, it's guaranteed to fail.
Yeah.
Because when you talk to them when you're in negative emotion, again, they're going to react to the negative emotion. They're not going to hear your words.
I think that's I think that's kind of rare that you were taught to talk things out. I was taught to yell things out, scream, throw things. Like, no, I've had a very rough upbringing. My parents were not very good to each other, very abusive. And so I had a really bad example of like learned behavior that I have had to break.
What comes to mind, one of my heroes is Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
And there was a scene in the movie where the American reporter asked Gandhi, with all the atrocities that the British have done to your people, how can you practice nonviolent resistance?
Right. Okay.
And Gandhi looked at me, smiled, and he said, if we all practice an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, we'd all be blind and toothless.
Yeah, that's a great point. Wow. That's profound. I like that.
Yeah.
So in order to it has to start somewhere, right? The change has to happen somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
See, and it starts with being conscious to stop doing what's not working.
Right. I think when people, and I can speak for myself, whenever when I need to say people, I'm always referring to some of my own personal experiences, you guys. So when you are coming from a negative place communicating with your partner, I think there tends to be a lot of resentment there. And so I think that we tend to like hold on to those things because it's familiar, right?
Sure.
And changing that behavior to doing something that's positive is very uncomfortable because it is change.
Oh, that's a great point. So whenever we change, it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
My goal is to feel uncomfortable every day.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not changing and growing.
Yes.
It's not that I like feeling uncomfortable. It's that it comes with the territory.
I love that. Yeah. If you're not growing, I feel like, that this is a perfect like saying that we hear all the time. If you're not growing, you're dying. Right.
Yeah.
And I have always want to be in an internal path of growth, of inner growth, just mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I have done that consistently since like I left the house when I was out of high school. And it hasn't always been a straight road or an easy road. And you leave a lot of people behind when you're growing. But it's a good thing. You will find new people.
Absolutely.
This brings up a thought. What if you are consistently growing in as a person, but your partner is not? How do you manage that distance? Because you can grow apart if someone is not growing with you.
Well, first of all, if you stay consistent in your growth and you treat them with loving kindness, they often come around.
Yeah.
Like in my work, most of the relationships that I fix, revitalize, or save, I only get to work with one person.
Yeah.
Because the other person won't be part of the process.
Hmm.
And my clients bringing back what they're learning to be able to ask their partner for what they want,
Okay.
especially to model that.
Because I've definitely had relationships where I felt like I outgrew that person, and it just no fault of their own, but
Right.
it was just like I've grown so far past this person. How do I stay connected to them? And they start to feel like a stranger, even if I'm treating them with love and kindness, and I'm in this place where I'm constantly evolving, and they are not. Like, how do you save that type of a relationship then?
Well, people have to know what they want and what's their non-negotiables,
Yeah.
and to set their partner up to succeed.
Okay. What if a partner refuses to want to succeed or grow or evolve or anything? Like they're just happy being complacent. They fell in love with comfortable and they're not going to change at all.
Well, then you have to decide your priorities.
Okay.
Is it a greater priority to stay with them,
Yeah.
or is it a greater priority to have the kind of relationship that I really want?
Mm.
And people have it's not a black and white answer, especially people have children together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I work with a lot of people, their partner isn't changing, no matter what they bring back to the relationship. And they've determined their top priority is to have their children in their life every day of their growing up.
Yeah.
Because they know if they break up, they lose that choice
Right.
forever.
I think the majority of people that are in the relationship, it's usually the female that's trying to save the relationship, right?
Not necessarily.
No? What is the percentage? Like roughly?
I'd say it's pretty much 50-50 in my experience.
Really?
I would have predicted would have been the female.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had the same prediction you did, but I was wrong.
That is comforting to know that. So any men that are watching this, if you feel like you want to seek help for your relationship, marriage, what have you, you are not alone. And so you should not be ashamed of that. Because I think that there is a stigma around therapy, counseling that, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't need help. I can figure it out on my own. No, sometimes you just need a little help.
Well, you want to have Henry Ford's desk. I'll tell you what that is.
Okay, yeah. So I'm like, wait a second. What?
What?
I'm not a history buff, so I don't know.
So when Henry Ford was a senior citizen, there was a faction of his company tried to get him kicked out.
Okay.
They wanted to take over. They had him tried to get him declared mentally incompetent.
Oh, wow.
And they had a competency trial. So he's on the witness stand, and the opposing counsel is saying, Mr. Ford, you're president of like one of the largest companies in the world. You don't even read a newspaper. Is that correct? He said, no, I don't. They say, I have a really big, beautiful cherry wood desk. And they're smirking. They think the guy's about to prove their case.
Yeah.
He said, on my desk are a bunch of buttons. If I get noticed there's internal strife in Uruguay, so we have a big plant there, I press button number 83.
Okay.
It gets me access to the top advisor in the world. Now internal strife in Uruguay affects American plants. And and he keeps talking about these buttons for every single problem he deals with, the CEO of this giant company, he has access to top advisors in the world to advise him. So I think we all need to have the equivalent of Henry Ford's desk.
Yeah.
To determine people in our life that are the most helpful for the things that come up in our life that we're not an expert in.
Yeah. I love that. That was a great analogy because, we don't have it all figured out. And it's okay to admit that. Oh my gosh, why is this making me a little emotional? I don't know why. It's hitting a button for some reason. I think that it actually shows more strength on your part to say that you might need help with something.
Absolutely.
And like you just made that example, some of the greatest leaders in the world have counsel to advise them on what decisions to make when they can't figure it out on their own. And I think and there are a lot more leaders, movie stars, entrepreneurs, very well-known people out there are open about having coaches and someone help guide them to get them to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so Fred is our resident relationship guide, relationship expert, relationship wizard to help get you to the next level of a good, healthy relationship. With that being said, Fred, I know you have a gift for everyone, and we're going to tell it on every episode when you come back to join us and talk more about these relationship issues. What is that gift that you have for our audience?
The gift, it's a private 4-episode podcast, and I've put in there a lot of the most important relationship skills I teach my clients and concepts.
Yeah.
You can get free access to it by going to relationshipmagic.com. Again, that's relationshipmagic.com.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a link to all 4 episodes.
Perfect. We always like to end the show with some last words of wisdom or advice. I know we talked about a lot of good things today. Let's end it with something in regards to like coming from a positive place, communicating. What do you want to leave with the audience today in regards to that and how they can implement that in their relationship?
So I recommend for all of you, you create a note on your phone with your partner's first name, and you call it, let's say your partner's name is Susie. It would be Susie's appreciation note.
I like that.
Whenever you think of anything positive about your partner, you put it in that note. And then at random times during the day, when you have contact with your partner, you say, I was thinking about you and I was thinking about X, thinking about what a loving person you are.
I love that. That was beautiful. Write those sticky notes, you guys. Fred, we're going to wrap things up here. As always, so lovely for you to bring your incredible wisdom to us to help save relationships, repair relationships, and just bring some great resources to our audience. So until next time, thank you for being a guest. And I can't wait for our next conversation around fixing relationships.
Me too. My absolute pleasure.
Yes. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to tune in every Monday here on E360 TV Live. You can also email us with any thoughts, questions, concerns, label free at e360tvlive.com. Until next time, we'll see you again.